The federal government just got downgraded, with credit rating giant Moody's nixing the federal government's last perfect credit score. Now you might ask how the heck the federal government has a perfect credit score with $2 trillion deficits, $36 trillion in debt, and a Congress that spent 50 years acting like a pack of teenagers with stolen credit cards. Moody's move was expected. Fellow ratings agency S&P downgraded the U.S. back in 2011 when Barack Obama was running our first trillion-dollar deficits. Credit agency Fitch downgraded in 2023 when Joe Biden upped the ante to permanent $2 trillion deficits. Through it all, Moody's was silent until now. Now, mainstream media was positively giddy since this was Moody's first downgrade since 1917, and it was all on Trump's watch. My base colleague Richard Stern shared a chart showing how Moody's did not downgrade in the 2008 crisis. They didn't downgrade in the World Wars, which was $10 trillion in modern terms, all borrowed. Not even in the Great Depression did Moody's downgrade. They didn't downgrade when FDR defaulted on the dollar, taking it from gold to paper, nor when Nixon finished off the gold standard in 1971. But now that Trump is in office, now Moody's downgrades, citing not spending but tax cuts. To put it in perspective, our Republican Congress is currently voting to increase spending on the order of $160 billion a year. This is deeply disappointing to the voters who they allegedly serve, who voted for big cuts. But $160 billion is almost 6 times less than in Biden's last budget, where he asked for $1.2 trillion and got $800 billion from Congress, plus Ukraine. That level of spending growth swamps Trump's tax cuts, and yet Moody's had zero problem with it, nor with the preceding 108 years of fiscal clownery. So as next brought to you by Unchained.com, the downgrade won't mean much for markets in the near term, for the simple reason everybody knew it was coming with our pathetic Republican Congress scheming another $2 trillion deficit and CBO projections of $52 trillion in debt by 2035 and $88 trillion by 2055 when our kids or grandkids will be paying taxes. So those are the numbers that matter here, because every trillion in additional debt costs about $34 billion in interest alone, every penny borrowed, of course. Now, $34 billion is roughly the entire budget of the Department of Justice, and that's one single trillion. Multiply by 36, and we're already paying over $1 trillion of interest, more than the Department of Defense. At $52 trillion, we're paying more interest than Social Security. At 88, we'll be paying almost $3 trillion in interest alone, half the budget in interest, all of which we borrow. So where does it end? 3 possibilities. Either the tax-paying livestock take it trillion by trillion, and our economy grinds to a halt like Europe or Canada. Second, voters rise up and toss the bums in upcoming primaries and we make the budget great again. Or third, bond markets revolt, the so-called bond vigilantes demanding higher and higher rates in fear the feds cannot pay their debts and will instead let inflation rip to melt away the debt along with Americans' life savings. In short, Moody's may be the most cynical canary in the coal mine, but the truth is downgrades are long overdue on our way off the fiscal cliff. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.